This is a basic guide to Town of Salem so that when it comes back, you at least have a minor idea of what you're doing. To quote the website, Town of Salem is a browser-based game that challenges players on their ability to convincingly lie, as well as detect when other players are lying. There are usually 15 players, and they are randomly and anonymously divided into different alignments with their own roles and objectives. This game, it sounds extremely complex, but trust me, you'll pick up the basic idea of it quickly enough, and after a few games, you know how it works, and it is worth it. To start, everyone is given the ability to write a will. When you are killed, your will is read to the town and it becomes publicly available, so you can use it to store valuable information to help your team win, tell lies to trick other people, or just write fan fiction. Let's get some basic stuff out of the way. There's two times of the day, daytime and nighttime. Yeah, I know. Hope you guys are taking notes. Pretty complicated. During the day, the entire town chats, shares information, accuses each other, tries to manipulate each other, and then after a brief discussion, there's a voting period. And if the majority of the town votes someone up, they get put on trial. They're given like 20 seconds to defend themselves, and then the entire town votes, and your vote is public. Everyone will see it afterwards. You can vote guilty, or just abstain, or vote innocent, and if there's more guilty than innocents, they get executed. Rip. After a person is executed, their will is read, you see what role they were, and then nighttime begins. Nighttime is where most of the roles use their abilities. The Mafia chat with each other at night and decide who to kill, the serial killer chooses someone to kill, and each individual town member, most of them have their own roles of their own to use. And, after the night is ended, everyone is notified of what their role's action caused, and they walk out of their homes to start the next day. Usually with some new corpses on the town square. Or town circle, I don't care. There's 4 general alignments in classic mode. There's the town members, who are basically the innocent guys, the Mafia, the serial killer, and the neutrals. Let's start with the serial killer. The serial killer is a very strong and important role, but it's actually really difficult to win with because a lot of the things in the game will fuck you over. The serial killer's objective is to kill everyone in the town, although he can't spare neutrals, while not getting killed himself. Every night, the serial killer chooses someone to attack. The serial killer is one of the roles that's actually immune, which means that most attacks will not kill him, although a few attacks do bypass this. I'll go over them later. The neutral classes don't have any abilities of their own. Their goal is just to manipulate the town into hanging certain people. The executioner's objective is simple. He is given an innocent town member and he has to convince the town to execute them. That's how he wins. The executioner, just like the serial killer, cannot be killed at night by most attacks. If his target dies from any method other than being voted up and executed, the executioner turns into the other neutral role, the jester. Every game has one jester, although if the executioner fails, he will become a second jester. The jester is essentially a lunatic, and his only objective is to convince the town to execute him. The jester, unlike the executioner, is vulnerable to attack. The third alignment is the Mafia. Every classic game, the Mafia has 3 players, the Godfather, the Mafioso, and the Framer. The Godfather is immune to attack, however the Mafioso and Framer can be killed at night. At night, the Mafia chat with each other and decide who to kill and frame. The Mafia's goal is to kill the town and to kill the serial killer, although as usual, neutrals can be spared. The Mafioso, he's basically the Godfather's bitch. I mean, the Mafioso and Godfather, they both vote on who to kill, but Mafioso's opinion doesn't matter. Although, if the Godfather dies, he will become the new Godfather. But until then, he's completely useless. The Framer chooses one person each night to frame, which can be used to trick investigation town roles such as the investigator and the sheriff. The town is the only alignment that's left, and they are the good guys. There's 9 of them, and there's a lot of different town roles. So I'll just go over the really common ones. The town's job is to kill the Mafia and the serial killer while avoiding being tricked by the neutrals. The first town member, the investigator, is quite important, because each night he investigates someone and he gets given a clue to their role. For example, when investigating a doctor or a serial killer, it'll say they work with knives and that they're either a doctor or a serial killer. When investigating a Godfather, it'll say they're either a leader among men, which means they're most likely a Godfather. There's a small chance they're mayor. I'm not going to tell you what it says for all of them, but those are the most important ones. Another town role is the sheriff, which is very similar to the investigator, except instead of giving a clue to their role, it just says not suspicious, mafia, or serial killer when investigated. The neutrals and the Godfather show up as not suspicious, so sheriff is often useless as fuck. However, his ability to spot serial killers and most of the mafia is still quite valuable. Another town role is the lookout. Every night they decide to spy on someone like a complete fucking creep. And if anyone happens to visit that person, for good purposes or not, that night, they will know about it. It's really good for determining who the killer is if they turn up dead that night and only one person visited them, and it's also good for determining which people aren't killers if they visit but that person doesn't die. The doctor is one of the simpler roles. Every night he chooses someone to heal, so if they get attacked, they're saved. He can heal himself, but only one time. And I'm dead. The jailer is a very powerful town role and one of my favorites. Every day during the daytime, he chooses one person to jail. That night, the person is roadblocked because they are unable to perform their role's actions. During the night, they'll chat with the jailer, and the jailer can decide whether or not to execute them based on what information they give him. The jailer is very powerful because he is capable of killing anybody in the game, even roles that are immune to attacks, such as the serial killer or Godfather. If the jailer kills the wrong guy, a town member, he'll be unable to kill anyone else for the rest of the game, however he'll still be able to jail them and consequently roadblock them. If a person is in jail, they cannot be attacked by anyone else. If the jailer jails the serial killer and does not execute him, the serial killer will automatically kill the jailer. This is why it's important for the jailer to write in his will, before the end of the night, who he last jailed. The escort decides someone to roadblock every night, and if she roadblocks the serial killer, she'll be automatically killed, which is why writing down who you roadblock in your will is important. The next town role is town killing, which can either be the vigilante or the veteran. The vigilante has 3 bullets. Every night he can choose to kill someone, but has to be very careful because if he kills a town member, he'll automatically be killed the next night out of guilt. It is very hard to play because half of the guys the vigilante is supposed to kill cannot be killed by him. The other town killing role is veteran. The veteran is given 3 alerts. If he uses one, anyone that visits him that night will be killed, good or bad. The veteran is very powerful, but has to be used carefully. It is not advised to alert night 1 because the amount of good players that can be killed is much higher than the amount of bad players. And there's a last town member in every town labeled the random town. He could be any of the roles except the jailer that I list above, or he could be one of 5 different special roles that I'm not going to explain because that'd take too much time. They really don't come up that often. And the random town is special because it means there can be 2 of the same role, except jailer again, in any town. It is possible. So that was Town of Salem. You're now an expert, or at least have a tiny idea how the game works. Don't worry, you'll catch on after a few games, and believe me, it is worth it. So, 500 of you guys or so wanted to bring this back, and you've been bugging me ever since I stopped recording it, so here it is, it's coming back. Stay tuned for me manipulating the shit out of nerds online. See you guys next time. This was Technoblade.